Hi everybody and welcome back to Todd's 10. That's right folks, I am your host Todd Kiper Berman Jr. coming at you live here from what was a tumultuous week in the history of American history. I am your host Todd Kiper Berman Jr. If there's one thing you can rely upon folks, it is that Todd will deliver results for you. Now, Todd has a busy day ahead of him. So busy that he's referring to himself in third person, so we're going to have to do this while cooking lunch. That's right, he's doing a little 10 a.m. taco action. Going really at it. You're going to see Todd cooking here. See what he does in the kitchen. See what he's cooking up. We're going to see what other teams are cooking up this week in the matchups. Of course, in this league, a huge league, big week. Big log jam at 4-4, so we're just going to hop right into it. We're going to hop right into the power rankings, folks. That's right, I'm going to do one of my weekly power rankings recap. First, Return of the Walrus, Goo Goo Jube. He is the Walrus. He is the Eggman number 1. Number 2, Slater and Goldman. 3, Little Deuce Coops. 4, Sprunk Football Team. 5, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. 6, Swiss Cheese Matrix, rocketing up the standings. The name change has absolutely worked. It's an absolute game changer for him. Congratulations, Tom Hummel. You listen to Todd, you get results. Todd knows fantasy football. Todd knows how to get victories, and that's a victory for you with that name change. Congratulations, Tom Hummel, on that 6th place in the power rankings. Hungry Dogs don't cry harder. They run faster at the 7th spot. Super Spreader at 8. Robert Kraft Defense Team at 9. Counter Chicago 10. Odell continually shitting on Crane season. That's why he's in the 11th spot. And the Trump train, rightfully so, at the 12th spot with that 2-5 record. Now, looking at the standings here, it's an action-packed week, folks. I'm going to start mincing some garlic a little bit here, getting that going. But the first match of the week we're going to be looking at is the Super Spreader versus Slater and Goldman. That's right, folks. Super Spreader Shane Worms coming at 4-4. Slater and Goldman 6-2. Jordan Mallensey. Now, Mallensey has a good lineup, but let's see if the combination of Cook, Thomas, and Mahomes actually starts to connect this week for Shane Worman. Now, looking at the matchup here, you got Patrick Mahomes going against Tom Brady. Tom Brady has a great matchup with New Orleans. Mahomes is a better match with Carolina. Got to take advantage to Shane Worman there. Now, the projections are 112.4 for Shane Worman, 110 for Slater and Goldman. So the underdog is favored here as far as the record goes. Now, looking at the lineup here, running backs. Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley going up against Leonard Fournette and Dexter Williams. A sneaky play this week with the absence of Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams due to COVID and other various injury-related reasons. Sickness, pandemic going on. Dexter Williams a nice play, but I like Dalvin Cook and Todd Gurley better. Now I'm waving around a knife as Todd Kiper Berman Jr. I know this is dangerous, so if something happens to me during this video, you all know the number to 911. It is in fact 911. Give it a call. I'm going to change the lighting here. I'm going to brighten up the lighting a little bit here. I feel like I'm getting a little washed out by the light back behind me. Look at that. The lighting up the room, lighting up fantasy football. That's what Todd Kiper Berman Jr. does. Welcome to Todd's 10. Now looking at the rest of the receivers here, Jamison Crowder, Marvin Jones Jr. versus Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Travis Kelce, Jonathan Taylor. Really like that lineup for Jordan Mallon. As I slice these radishes, I'm going to end up pickling these here a little bit. Give it a nice little pickle. It's kind of more of an Asian taco today. So that's what we're going to go with, but I really like what Jordan Mallon is doing there with his lineup. Definitely going to give him the advantage there. Now, looking at the defenses and kicker, Shane Worman has the Kansas City Chiefs defense going up against Carolina. Houston defense going up against Jacksonville. Jacksonville going to be playing a backup quarterback this week, so that's a nice advantage there for Jordan Mallon. I'm going to give the advantage to Mallon across the board there. Shano doesn't have a kicker right now, so you got to give the advantage to Mallon with the kicker. And I'm going to go, you know what, despite the predictions and despite the Chaska High School allegiances that Todd Kiper Berman Jr. has, again, third person. It's been a crazy week, folks. I'm sorry that I keep doing that. It's not necessarily what I want to be doing, but it is what's happening. So anyway, Shane Wormuth, I'm going to pick against you. I'm going to pick Jordan Mallon this week. That's right, Jordan Mallon going to get a victory there. Slater and Goldman going for the win. Victory. Now let's just get this game out of the way. It's probably going to be one of the ugliest beatdowns in the history of fantasy football. That's right, folks. Sprunk's football team going up against Robert Kraft Defense Team. Robert Kraft Defense Team turning in what has really been one of the ugliest stretches of fantasy football anybody has ever seen. Now, will that translate over to this week? I don't think so. Because look at the matchups here. Matchups 122.1 to 95.4 for Robert Kraft Defense Team. The lowest he's been projected all season. That's not good for him. That's not good for fantasy football. People need Brett Kohler at the top of the standings. Fantasy football is better when he's winning. He did make a move this week. Let's see if it pays off. So let's get right into the lineups. Josh Allen going at quarterback for Nate Sprunk. Derek Carr going at quarterback. What is a suspect? A suspect defense there in Los Angeles for the Chargers. Not talking about the Rams. There's 2 teams in Los Angeles. Used to be 0. Now there's 2. That's 200% more teams. That's math for you, and that's coming at you. That's what Todd Kiper Berman Jr. does. Still going to give the advantage to Josh Allen. I like what he can do with the legs. Derek Carr, I think he'll put up about 19 points, which is about all that Brett can really ask for at this point. But I'm still going to give the advantage to Josh Allen going up against what is a bad Seattle defense. Now, looking up at the running back position, you got Melvin Gordon, DeAndre Swift going against Alvin Kamara and James White. Now, James White, not really a sexy play, but Brett likes the matchup against the New York Jets. He thinks it's a good matchup. He thinks it could really play out well. Melvin Gordon's got a nice matchup against Atlanta. DeAndre Swift really coming on for the Detroit Lions. Could see him doing some good things there in Minnesota. Anyways, I'm going to still give the advantage to Kohler because Kamara is an animal. We're looking at the wide receiver position: Calvin Ridley, Devontae Adams, Rob Gronkowski, Stephon Diggs. Quite the lineup there for the Sprung football team. Chris Godwin, DJ Shark, Noah Fant, and Amari Cooper for Brett Kohler. Now, Cooper could be a good play. He could be an absolutely terrible play. It's really going to depend on who the fuck plays quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody knows. Not even the Cowboys know at this point. And that is not good for Brett. That's a cucumber. There's a little slice of a cucumber. Anyway. The advantage is clearly to Sprung's team. So, here's what I'm going to do now. I have these cucumbers and radishes and pour a little vinegar in there. And now, speaking of pouring vinegar on things, let's look at Brett Kohler's defense. He's playing the Seattle Seahawks defense, which he just mentioned earlier. It's not a very good defense at all. And so I'm going to give the advantage to Sprung without even looking at who his defense is, which is the Colts going up against Baltimore. Actually, it kind of could work out for Brett, but I'm still going to give the advantage to Sprung because Brett's team is in the shitter. He is open to making moves. I guess you could compare Brett's team to a Biff right now. Not very good. Just a classic shitter. Anyways, looking at the rest of the lineup here, we're going to put a little sugar on here just to give it a little sweetness. If you like a little extra sweetness, maybe put 2 tablespoons. I'm just going to put a little pinch. Anyways, looking at here, looking at the kickers, Daniel Carson going for Sprung. And Rodrigo Blankenship going for Kohler. Now, I can't go against Goggles. I have to pick Goggles every week. Oh, no. So, I'm gonna go Goggles and give the advantage to Brett Kohler, but I am going to pick Nate Sprunk in this game. I think he's going to have the advantage. He's going to come out with the victory this week. The radishes and cucumbers are very big. Should have cut them thinner. Anyways, looking at it here, you make mistakes in cooking and you make mistakes in fantasy football. That's right, folks. Looking at our next matchup, we have the Count. This is harder than I expected. The Count of Chicago going up against Hungry Dogs Run Faster. 2 teams looking to bounce at the standings and avoid that beer mile. That's right, Mark Flower looking to not be last place 2 years in a row. That would be embarrassing. What's not as embarrassing was the victory he came away with last week. So let's see what he can do this week. Looking at the games here, Ryan Tannehill going up against Russell Wilson. Tannehill, the former quarterback for Dan Ingram, I believe, in this league. So that's a little rivalry, revenge game for Ryan Tannehill. Let's see how he performs against Chicago. I'm going to give the advantage to Russell, though, against Buffalo. Russ is cooking. He's mixing things up. He's got all kinds of sugars and spices. He's like Todd Kiper Berman Jr. He's in the kitchen. He's cooking up delicious things. That's what he does. Anyways, looking at the rest of the lineup here, we're going to cut up some cilantro now. But looking at the rest of the lineup here, we have David Montgomery and J.D. McKissick for Flower versus Josh Jacobs and Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon should have a nice day today. Mostert's still on the IR. The rest of that San Francisco team kind of stinks. I'm chopping cilantro here. Let's do a little chop. A little spice chop. Becoming quite the chef nowadays, Todd Kiper Berman Jr. But anyways, looking at the rest of the lineup here, I'm going to give the advantage to Ingram with the running backs with the wide receiver Claypool, Hardman, Hawkinson, and Hurst. Double tight end combination for the Count of Chicago, the Admiral, the Duke, the General, the Lieutenant, whatever you want to call him. The former Prez versus DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Jonnu Smith, and Antonio Brown making his appearance on the fantasy scene. Once was banished, sent off to the kingdom. Like in old ancient England, they said, "Ye go away," they said. And guess what? He has came back, and he's come back with a vengeance. I really like that play for Dan Ingram, especially going against New Orleans. I think Tom Brady's going to be chucking the ball all over the yard. That's right, the schoolyard, the junkyard, the backyard. Whatever kind of yard it is, that's what Antonio Brown's going to do. Going to give the advantage to Dan Ingram with that matchup there. Now, the projections do favor Ingram by almost 20 points, and I can see why Cardinals defense going to have a big day against Miami. And Tua didn't really show much in his last start, and Will Lutz at kicker. I am going to go Dan Ingram. Hungry Dogs cried harder last week, but they run faster this week. DK has emerged as one of the top fantasy wide receivers, if not the top fantasy receiver this season. I'm sorry you can't see my face, folks. Sometimes you got to do a little of what you got to do. And anyways, now I'm going to be mixing up a little sauce action here. And the only thing that's getting saucy is Dan Ingram. He's going to have a nice victory this week. Congratulations, Dan Ingram. Moving on to our next matchup. This is a huge matchup for Return the Wallers. Trying to continue the momentum of the season. This guy's former champion. Two-time champion. Looking to get that three-peat. First three-peat in league history. Can he do it? Will he do it? I think he has a good matchup this week. 122.1 projected against Odo Shoot of my season. 110.7. Let's get into the details. Why here, folks? Justin Herbert going at quarterback for Mr. Return of the Wallers. Goo 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 Goo. John Lennon. Shout out Lennon. Anyways, going up against Kyler Murray, Miami. This is a great quarterback matchup. This is my quarterback matchup of the week. Kyler Murray, though, has the advantage. Now, looking at the running back position, CMC is back. That's right, folks. Christian McCaffrey is back and better than ever. And Max Goldberg couldn't be more excited. He was all aboard that Mike Davis train. That's not actually, he wasn't. The County Chicago was. But guess what? CMC is back. And now he leads a stellar running back room led by James Robinson as well. Wow, what a play, what a running back room going up against Ezekiel Elliott and Josh Jackson. Gonna have to give the advantage here to CMC. I mean, he's the best running back in the league when he's healthy. How healthy is he? That is the question. No, really the only question for the Wallers' running back room this week. Now looking at the rest of the lineups, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Darren Waller, and Damian Harris. Harris probably the only suspect play I see there. Looking at the wide receivers for Odell Shit of my season, DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith, Jared Cook, Brandon Cooks, couple Cooks, just like a Cook and Todd Kiper Berman. That's the trifecta of Cooks, and you know what? I'm going to give the advantage to Dylan Crane here. I like Hopkins' matchup this week. I think Schuster's going to have a great day against Dallas, and the double Cooks. You can't beat that. Is this the week the Walrus goes down? We'll find out here. Now looking at the defenses. That's right, we have the defenses. It's the Steelers defense going up against Dallas. That's a great matchup for Max, and I think that's why I'm just going to get right to it. That's why I think Max is going to win this week. Unfortunately for Crane, it's a double whammy as he is a Cowboys fan. He's a fan of America's team, and America is going to do him wrong. The Steelers, the Steel City, the Steel Curtain, the state of Pennsylvania is really going to bring the heat to Texas this week. Unfortunately, Return of the Wallers is going to come up with a victory. Big victory for Max this week. Victory for his season. Probably clinching a top playoff spot for him. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. Anyways, now looking at it here, I'm having a hard time doing this. Anyways, looking at the next matchup, folks, that's right, we're moving right along to the Swiss Cheese Matrix, my favorite team in the league, I'll just come out and say it, against Little Deuce Coups. Probably my second or third favorite team in the league, and that's right, folks, you know what that means. You guys know what that means. That's our matchup of the week, folks. That's right, folks, coming at you with the matchup of the week. We have Little Deuce Coups, Swiss Cheese Matrix predicted at 120.1 points versus 101.4 to Little Deuce Coups. Swiss Cheese Matrix looking to continue on his hot streak this season. Will it continue? Salt and pepper in that sauce, a little sriracha and sour cream kind of combination here. Nothing too crazy. We put a little bit of water just to give it. Actually, no, I'm not going to put a little water. I could buy an olive. I'm just going to do that. Let's get a little saucy. Actually, I'm going to put a little water in there. Make it a little drizzly. Anyways, looking at here, looking at the matchups here, Aaron Rodgers going up against San Francisco tonight. That'll be a great matchup for him. San Francisco is depleted, decimated, downgraded, done in by injuries. Not doing well for San Francisco. I like that matchup, but what I like more is Lamar Jackson going up against Indianapolis. I love his trees, his twigs, his legs, his pegs, whatever you want to call them, his peg legs, his pirates, Long John Silver, Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow, Lamar Jackson will come away with a victory there. I like that actually advantage for Little Deuce Coups. Looking at the running back position here, you got David Johnson and Jermichael Hasty going against Aaron Jones, who's not projected to play, and James Conner. You might want to look at that lineup. Mike Zimmerman, Aaron Jones probably out this afternoon. And so I'm going to have to give the advantage to Hummel there simply because one of the running backs, Michael Zimmerman, isn't playing. Two is better than one. Two heads better than one. That's a classic saying, classic victory, classic move by Tom Hummel getting that play there. Looking at the wide receiver position, Tyler Lockett, Julio Jones, Robert Tonyan, and Chase Edmonds for Hummel. Like that lineup. Like this lineup, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, Eric Ebron, and Robbie Anderson. I'm going Hummel. I like the Swiss Cheese Matrix here. I like Lockett's matchup against Buffalo. I like Julio against Denver. Tonyan's really emerging on the scene for Green Bay. I like that Rodgers-Tonyan combination. That's called the double dip. If you go to Dairy Queen, you ask for the double dip, they'll give you a weird look. But they're not going to give you a weird look when you know you're talking about fantasy football. That's a great play by Tom Hummel. I'm going to give you the advantage. Also, I like Chase Edmonds in the flex. Advantage, Tom Hummel. Now looking at the defenses here, Washington football team going up against the New York football Giants. Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. He's a robot. Not only is he a machine in the classroom, he went to Duke, got good grades, he's a machine on the football field by turning the ball over. That's a nice play by by him. But the Bears defense going up against Tennessee. Derrick Henry could have a good day. Probably a decent play by, top 10 play by Zimmerman, but a top 5 play by Hummel. And therefore, I think Hummel has the advantage. I'm just going to get right to it, folks. I'm sticking with the favorite. That's right, folks. I'm sticking with Swiss Cheese Matrix. I think they come out on top this week. The top of the mountain, cream of the crop, all that fun stuff. I got distracted here with what I was doing. I'm going to start actually cooking some cabbage. Cabbage, of course, cabbage. Oh, there we go. Finally got the gas going. Gas grills are technically a better electric than me. I like the ability to be able to control what you're doing. Anyways, looking at it here, I got a bigger pan because I'm going to be throwing a little beef in here, a little cabbage, a little sesame oil, a little soy sauce. Getting real exotic with this recipe. Seeing where it goes. Probably should wash this cabbage before I do it. I'm going to give it a little wash here. And a little drain. I don't want this olive oil to heat up a little bit, and we're going to go on to our next matchup, and that's what is heating up the league, folks. That's right, our last matchup of the week, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air taking on the Trump Train. At quarterback for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, going with Cam Newton, a guy who put up negative points for Cam. The Cam connection hasn't always worked this year, but will it work this week? I think yes, because he's going up against the New York Jets. Or stinky. I've often compared them to like a fart, cutting cheese. Not Swiss cheese, and certainly not Swiss cheese matrix, but cheese nonetheless. Now, looking at the rest of the matchup here, I gotta give these pickled vegetables a quick stir, get them all exposed to the vinegar. Anyways, looking at here, I got the cabbage going on right now. Got it cooking in the oil. I'm gonna do a little salt and pepper on top of that, just to get them a little going. You're talking about salt and pepper. Look at Deshaun Watson with that juicy matchup against Jacksonville. That's right, folks. I'm gonna give the advantage of the quarterback position to the Trump Train. David Cole, a guy trying to avoid the beer mile. Now, looking at the running back position, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Chris Carson for Cameron Herman. That's a nice little matchup there. What else is a nice little matchup? I'm going to stir up a little bit here. Is Derrick Henry and Philip Lindsay? Derrick Henry is really the only player that's carrying the Trump Train right now. And guess what? He's not going to this week. Chicago's a bad matchup for him. I like the running backs better for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Clyde Edwards is going to have a nice day. Carson back from injury. Like to see that for Cam Herman. Like to see that potentially for a victory this week. Let's delve into a little bit more. Of course, the projections do favor the Trump Train by almost 10 points. Looking at the wide receiver position, we have Allen Robinson the second. Again, I hate the second. Rather go with Junior. Versus Deontay Johnson, Mike Gesicki, and Zach Moss for Cam Herman. This is where Cole has the advantage, folks. Adam Thielen, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Jerry Jeudy. Love that lineup. Love those plays. Love this cabbage, the way it's cooking up right now. Got a nice little flavor to it, nice little steam, getting it real softened. Really good color, nice little purple color. Gonna bring a lot of color, a lot of vibrant stuff to my meal. Now looking at it here, Ravens, Patriots defense. Ravens for Cam going up against Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers probably due for a turnover, but not as many turnovers as Sam Darnold. That's right, the Patriots are taking on the Jets this week. It's a great play for David Cole, but advantage David Cole. Looking at the rest of the matchups here, we're gonna go with Mr. Koo for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Trump Train's got Ryan Suckham. And guess what? I'm going to give the advantage to Koo. That guy can kick. He can kick balls. He can kick all kinds of things. He's a kicker. That's what he does. Soccer balls, footballs, foosballs, balls. He kicks them. He scores points. But overall, I'm going to go with David Cole. I think he's going to pull out the victory this week. It's a good team. Probably better than his record is reflecting. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed Todd's 10. I hope you've enjoyed Todd's 10 in the kitchen. I got a little sidetracked. Was expecting to be done with this meal by the time Todd's 10 was over. Didn't quite make it, but I hope you enjoyed this episode. I am your host, Todd Kiper Berman Jr. This is Todd's 10. Have a great day, everyone.